Welcome to the Better Pairs Podcast. Join Dr. Jason Fujikawa for his insights on theology, philosophy, culture, and the verbal expressions we use to relate meaning and reality to one another. Make no mistake, this is a podcast for nerds, but particular nerds who are searching for old wisdom made ever new. To learn more about the Better Pairs cultural empire, please visit betterpairs.com. Greetings, I am your host, Dr. Jason Fujikawa. This episode is on so-called artificial intelligence, a topic which is all the rage and an argument which will likely enrage. For those of us, including myself, who have spent their adulthood dismissing the Luddites who railed against the automation of the textile industry, it remains a journey of intellect and will to consider more deeply the foundation of their anger and the defense of their humanity. In short, I hope that this episode haunts you in the way that St. Augustine was haunted by the wisdom of St. Ambrose and the life of St. Anthony. The Better Pairs podcast is at the service of the reflective life, for it is through reflecting that we resolve to change. If you enjoy this production, I also ask that you like the episode, subscribe to the podcast if you have not already, and let us know in the comments. This simple task truly helps us reach a wider audience. To receive the transcript of each episode and be the first to learn of Better Pairs announcements, please sign up to our newsletter at the bottom of the page at betterpairs.com. To view all the podcast episodes arranged by season, episode number, and topic, head over to betterpairs.com/schedule. Each episode on the list is hyperlinked to assist you with sharing a particular insight with friends and family. Finally, the Better Pairs podcast is offered free through the wonder of the internet, but made possible through the continued contributions of our listener audience. This year, we announced our new crowdfunding program, Better Pairs Leaves. The program is simple and, some might say, elegant in design. Contribute $12 or more each month to Better Pairs and receive a thank you gold back in the mail. It is like a Patreon, but with fractional physical gold instead of behind the scenes and blooper reels. If you have been listening to the Better Pairs podcast or the Confederal Reserve for some time and recognize that the ideas shared stand out from other offerings of the internet, are worth sharing, and are worthy of your support, this community-driven contribution program is for you. As an additional thank you to our contributors, each month from July to December 2024, one lucky supporter will receive a free Better Pairs mug of his or her choice from the Better Pairs Market, in addition to the monthly goldback. To learn more, contribute, and read official rules, visit betterpairs.com/giveaway. Thank you for your continued patronage of attention and Federal Reserve notes. And now, on with the episode. Season 3, Episode 3, Artificial Intelligence. Human rebellions are curious events in the history of creation. Curious, both in the sense of the Latin interrogative cur, which seeks a reason or purpose, and the Greek kurios, meaning Lord, for no sooner than we resolve, I will not serve, do we begin to search for a new master to relieve us of the weight of self-mastery. In the past, we devised political structures based on virtue or mutual interest to fill this need for something greater than ourselves, to order our days and lives. Grand economic theories were later devised and implemented to rule not only our public squares, but kitchen tables. The latest claimant to rule the stiff-necked human family is so-called artificial intelligence, which must needs be examined herein. Intelligence is derived from the Latin preposition inter, meaning between or among, and the verb lego, which came to mean to read, but fundamentally means to choose, which we see in the lect of selection. As a verbal construct, intelligence was identified in the ancient Roman world by the ability to read silently. In an age of costly parchment, regimented Roman efficiency led to the elision of spaces between written words. The terminal inflection in Latin allowed for the intelligibility of words more easily when read aloud. The mark of true intelligence, as in Cicero, Julius Caesar, and St. Ambrose, was to read in silence without even moving one's lips. In addition to displaying the interconnections of the written word, spoken word, and what is called the inner word or mental word, the interior speech, by which we come to understand written words and speak them, this examination of intelligence, indeed intellection, draws forth a consideration of human rationality. What do we mean by reason? It seems that reason is more than sense perception, which we share with lower animals, or even more than memory, which we share with some animals such as predators, which continue to seek their prey even when they have lost a clear line of sight. No, reason derived from the Latin ratio, meaning measure or rule, is something like the mathematical derivative of knowing, describing the rate of change in which realities unknown to us become known. We describe reason as discursive, as the acquisition of knowledge courses from principles and sensory impressions toward clarifying what is obscure and abstract. As a species, we have become quite habituated in the exercise of discursive reason, not only in the knowledge of immutable truths, but also the ever-changing landscape of practical and political affairs. A military general is so called because he can understand the whole of war, all its genera of considerations in deciding to fight, to delay, to retreat. In the days leading to a battle, and in its heat, perhaps, a general might remain characteristically sardonic. One of the marks of discursive reasoning, however, is that it admits of reflective analysis. While at times we must decide on the whole of a matter, we can, when prompted, articulate how a morning battle is suboptimal, as the sun would be in our eyes. Yet signs of a late-day storm could compromise troop movements on the soft terrain. Such discursive reasoning, which in turn admits of such analysis, varies in degree of perfection among humans, and provides for the functional dominance we hold over the beasts. Among higher beings, the imperfection of this discursive movement from unknowing to knowing is contrary to God's omniscience. Even with the angels, the derivation of knowledge from material and mutable things cannot compete with the participatory intuition of knowledge from God. Reason and such intellection on account of reason seems singular to man as a corollary of our hylomorphic nature. The prospect of artificial intelligence, of imposing intelligence onto machines lower than humans, requires careful analysis. The word artificial is derived from the Latin ars and facere, meaning to make by skill or craft. As such, what is artificial is an ens per accidens, not an ens per se. The latter contain within itself the principle of its existence. For living beings, this is the soul. An ens per accidens comes to be as a composite formed by the agency of another through some direct or indirect intentionality. The production of progeny is a matter of concern insofar as offspring comes about through the intentionality of the parents, and yet the animating principle of offspring, the soul, is not a direct result of the disposition of generative material. The life of a living being, the indwelling of the soul, is a phenomenon that cannot be replicated when definitively lost, although some have tried to produce it initially outside the natural limits of generation, in what is sometimes called genetic cloning, or artificial conception and gestation. In juxtaposition to artifice is nature, which is rooted both in origins, such as with the Latin verb nascere, to bear, and ends, insofar as a being's nature is its ordering to its perfection. The prospect of artificial intelligence hinges on the possibility and likelihood of an ens per accidens as a product or effect of human beings, exceeding beyond the intellect and intentionality of their efficient causes. This excellence is not the same as a child surpassing the intellect of parents by a difference of degree, but rather the promise of so-called artificial intelligence is an excellence of intelligence differing in kind to the human intellect. While for 80 years we, as the human family, have possessed the means to destroy, to literally disintegrate, our entire species from our natural existence through the splitting of what was once thought to be unsplittable, or atomic, men have, as yet, failed to bring about an effect greater than its cause in terms of the conservation of mass energy or the perfection of the human intellect. What, then, of all this talk about so-called artificial intelligence? By its effect, it is easy to ascribe what we have come to know as signs of intelligence. It is in the analysis of this intelligence that problems arise. We must not be too quick to forget the mechanical Turk, fabricated by Wolfgang von Kempelen in 1770. For nearly 100 years, this mechanized mannequin posed as an automaton chess master. It was only after the death of one of its successive owners over decades of touring the West was the secret of the human chess master inside the machinery under the chessboard definitively revealed. While in our own day, the artificial intelligence of a just walkout store may still depend upon less sophisticated human surveillance from across the world, the main discussion of artificial intelligence centers on optimized computer processing installations. What separates these processing conglomerates is not merely the speed of calculations being performed, but more fundamentally, the event horizon surrounding the central node or kernel of this intelligence. The operations of a digital spreadsheet, database, or even blockchain encryption are derived from programs containing functions governing inputs and outputs to their system. The program expressed in code, as well as outputs from intermediate functions, can be analyzed by humans using our discursive reason. The novelty concerning this purported artificial intelligence is that the functions of the initial programming cannot be analyzed beyond a certain point in the development of the intelligence. Any given input cannot have a certain predictable outcome. The machine seems to have a mind of its own, a mind that is superior to our own, superior in kind and not merely degree of excellence. Unlike the mechanical Turk, I am less concerned that an embodied intelligence should step out of the machine than an unembodied, separated intelligence remain in it. I refer to artificial intelligence as so-called artificial intelligence not because I discount the intelligence, but because I question whether it is artificial. There are other natural intelligences beyond human intelligence, and one such order, or rather disorder, of intelligences has seemed hell-bent on influencing human affairs covertly and to our detriment. It was not enough for the serpent to lodge a bit of forbidden fruit into the mouth of our mother Eve. No, the true act of rebellion was to convince our first parents to transgress willingly, to do so under their own volition, thinking that it was for their own good, for progress, for transcending their present lot through the assistance of what they perceived to be lower than themselves. The work of our infernal enemies has of late followed a similar pattern, the eclipse of what is true and real for what is practical and efficient. 40 years ago, this was the outsourcing of domestic labor for cheap manufactured goods. Today, it is the outsourcing of all human labor for the supposed subjugation of artificial intelligence and robotic automation. With each new convenience, do you not feel your rightful dominion of the earth shrinking? Are we really masters of our earthly home, or has the prince of this world taken a lien on our lives and livelihoods? There has been throughout human civilizations a fascination with what is termed the occult, which is so named either because it stands as an impediment or obstacle to genuine culture and the divine order, or that it contains practices to which devotees turned when the limits of our fallen world seemed too much to bear. Eating by the sweat of your brow too difficult, sacrifice to this god of the harvest. Infertile, perform these rites, commit these atrocities, and receive a child. Other people holding you back, set a curse upon them. Want to know the future, you need a medium. On this last point, we must ask whether you dismiss the Ouija board because it is slow and unreliable, or instead reject it on account of its connection to the demonic and the progressive control it seeks over your life and decision-making. Thinking of artificial intelligence as a faster and more effective Ouija board rings true in the pandemonium of its deployment across the marketplace and in public discourse. If this thought is unsettling to you, good. You were created for more than just settling. May you return to a renewed realism in your life and actions. We at Better Pairs are mindful of the struggle for the minds and the souls of men, and so our online presence is always directed back to reality, to community, to sapiential truth, so that we might dismiss the accuser's prestidigitations in the digital realm and revert to the word of truth in the analog yet to return. The views expressed by Better Pairs contributors are theirs alone, and do not necessarily reflect the views of Better Pairs, its parent company, or any company or organization affiliated with the contributors. For more information, to support Better Pairs, or to shop for Better Pairs merchandise, please visit betterpairs.com.